Hey y'all, welcome back to Mastering the Faith and welcome back to Trusting God's Plan in the Wait, the story of Joseph. It's been 21 days so far of devotions and Bible verses and group chat discussions about what we've been reading and what's been happening. It's been an amazing journey so far and we appreciate you for being a part of it. Today, let's get into day 21. Tomorrow is our last day. So make sure you guys tap in with us. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be in tune with what we do next. We have so much more in store and we hope you to be a part of it. So let's get straight into it today. Day 21, trusting God's plan in the wait. Here we go. Day 21, God intended it for good. We begin today reading with the death of Jacob. Due to Joseph's favor with Pharaoh, his father Jacob is embalmed in the Egyptian traditions and given the funeral fanfare of a king. All of Pharaoh's courts and dignitaries accompanied Jacob's family from Egypt to his homeland in Canaan to bury him with his forefathers. Once the family returns from the funeral, the brothers start convincing themselves Joseph still has a grudge against them. They haven't truly forgiven themselves for what they did to Joseph, so they think he's out to get them now that their father is dead. They send word to Joseph saying their dad told him to forgive all of them. When Joseph hears this, it breaks his heart and he weeps. Have you ever forgiven someone only to sense they haven't forgiven themselves? Maybe they act differently around you now. Maybe they avoid you. It's an awful position to be in because it means you haven't truly heard or understood. If the brothers really believed Joseph, they would have never sent for those instructions on forgiveness. The brothers come and throw themselves down before Joseph. Again, the image of the prophetic dream on repeat. They go so far as to say, "We are your slaves." What a change of heart from the guys who actually made him a slave in the past. Let's learn from Joseph by how he handles such a delicate situation. He points them to God. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me. God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph speaks the truth in love. Yes, he understood they intended to kill him, but God gave him a greater perspective. Joseph could now see the big picture. God took their awful act and used it for his good. In the middle of your wait, you may only be seeing a small piece of a much greater puzzle. Your puzzle piece or situation may literally make you feel puzzled, wondering how will this ever be fixed or fit. But if you step back, take your hands off, and trust God with your situation, He will bring out the good in the darkest problems. All right, y'all, so let's get straight into the questions for today. It says, do you identify with the brothers being fearful of Joseph's intentions? I think the devotion spoke for itself, right? When you do harm or you treat somebody bad, when you do harm or you treat somebody bad and they forgive you, ultimately you have to forgive yourself. You can't harp on the things that have happened. You can't live in the past. If somebody says they're forgiving you and they act as if they forgive you, then you need to trust them and do your best moving forward. Don't continue to bring the past up and be a reminder of the things that you did in the past. Live new. Be made clean, and that's what we do when we start living with God. Even when you get baptized, you'll be made new in God, and He gives you a fresh start. So if you continue to walk with God, but you always worry about who you were before, then you'll never really truly experience what it means to walk with God. What did you learn from Joseph's perspective on harm intended for him? I think Joseph's perspective is great. He had a bigger picture point of view. Yeah, what you intended was your intentions versus God's intentions are two different things, right? So these people intended to harm Joseph, but in the end, God made him into a great nation and a great leader. It's not always how we get to where we get. It's just that we got there. And we have to remember that sometimes too. Do you feel like God can bring something good out of your situation? I feel like God can do anything. I feel like God can do anything realistically. I think in any situation, the good, the bad, the ugly, what God intends for it, that's what it's going to be. So yeah, I'm very optimistic that in any situation, either how bad you may think it is, you're not alone. You're not on an island. Somebody else has experienced this and made it out. And just like they did, you can make it out too. As long as you trust God, continue to walk with God, no matter what, the situation will work itself out. All right, let's get into the verses for today. It's Genesis 50, verse 1 on down. It says, Joseph threw himself onto his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and the Egyptians mourned the death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, 'Listen, I am about to die. Take my body to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After this burial, I will return without delay." Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household, his brothers, and their households. But they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents and Canaanites watched them mourning in the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed that place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mizraim, for they said, "This is a place of deep mourning for the Egyptians." So Jacob's son did as he commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in a cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephraim the Hittite. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that his father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. "Now Joseph will show us anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him," they said. They sent this message to Joseph. "Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, 'Please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for their sin is treating you so cruelly.' So we, the servants of God of your father, beg for your forgiveness of our sin." When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. "Look, we are your slaves," they said. But Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God, that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for all good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children." So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. And the next verse comes from Romans 8, verse 28, and it says, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." All right, y'all, and that is day 21. Thank you all for being a part of it. I appreciate you for making it this far to the video. If you made it this far to the video, go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Join us at Mastering the Faith. If you found this video through Mastering the Man, tomorrow is the last day. Tomorrow I will post my last piece of content on faith and mindset to Mastering the Man. And from there on, it will be on Mastering the Faith, because you need faith and you need a positive mindset to get where you're going. I want my faith and mindset content to have its own life somewhere where it can live and thrive. And I hope that you will come over there and thrive with us. So I'll see you tomorrow, day 22. Keep mastering and God bless. Let's go.